Alright. The commands aren't gonna work for 10 minutes to prevent spoilers, I think. That's the reasoning. To prevent... Caffeine wearing off? A little bit, yeah, I think so. I'm not like completely dead or anything. It's better than I would normally be. I'm already sleeping at this time. Almost. Pretty much. 7-hour legendary stream. Bitch, I stream for 8 hours. Or 7 hours so far, I guess, yeah. But it's not about the time I stream. It's about the fact that it's, you know, right before I go to bed. So it's sleepy time. Usually. Get beer or popcorn. Bitch, I have popcorn actually, but I don't eat anything. I'm doing my intermittent fasting now for over a year. 1.5 years almost. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Rogers, Game Director on Path of Exile, and welcome to GGG Live. We have massive changes to show you today with Path of Exile Curse of the Allflame, which is coming out next week on July 25th. Twitch drops are enabled on today's livestream, so you'll be able to claim your Abyssal Soul Shatter rare finisher by following the instructions below. Let's not keep you waiting though. Roll the trailer for Path of Exile Curse of the Allflame.
Drops.
The Allflame calls us to the sea. To a lost wreck that still draws ghostly breath. A curse down below.
Subnautica.
With my lanterns, we can explore the sea floor. We must find the source of the Allflame before the brine rot.
Before the brain rot? Too late.
Somewhere in the blackest depths, bounty and death await.
Treasure. They didn't even have the pirate music.
Come find your fortune in the depths of the sea.
Curse of the Allflame. Play free.
In today's stream, we'll be walking you through all the details of Path of Exile Curse of the Allflame, where you'll comb the ocean floor discovering sunken artifacts of forgotten origins, fight the horrors of the deep, and do your best to keep from being crushed by the waters above you. We're revisiting some familiar mechanics to bring new life to systems that have begun, perhaps, to show their age. Abyss and Legion will both be receiving significant upgrades, including a new pinnacle boss for Abyss and a new chase crafting system for unique items in Legion. In addition to revamps of the existing leagues though, we're also bringing back some old friends. The mercenaries of Trathus are making their way back to Rayclast. Then we'll explain our new endgame system, where you'll join Kirak in investigating anomalies appearing on the Atlas. After that, we'll discuss the character and skill balance coming in Curse of the Allflame. Finally, we'll cover our new set of supporter packs.
Kill
after
yourself,
which we'll have a live Q&A session, where Ziggy D will interview Path of Exile's game director Mark, as well as game designers Octavian and Andrew, answering your questions from Twitch chat. After the live stream, we'll drop the full patch notes at 11 AM NZT.
Alright.
So let's get started. I'll hand things over to Mark to introduce the new league.
Hi, I'm Mark Roberts,
Oh,
game
hi, Mark.
director on Path of Exile. In Path of Exile Curse of the Allflame, a long-forgotten mystery has begun to stir beneath Rayclast seas. Hidden in the icy depths lie strange and immensely powerful treasures, waiting for those bold
I like
enough
he's
to
wearing
claim.
a Path of Exile t-shirt.
Meet Valerie, a dangerous Corsair
Hoodie.
captain who needs boots on the ground and on the sea floor to help her retrieve these treasures and unlock their potential. This is where you come in, to help her find the charts scattered across Rayclast. Then, use those to guide her ship to the patch of brine that holds loot for the taking. In return, you'll get a cut of the profits. These lost charts are guarded by the undead, rival Corsairs, or horrible creatures of the deep. Each of these monster encounters will also have a custom bonus for defeating the enemies. For example, successfully defeating the accursed undead that guard this treasure chest will cause the grateful trapped soul inside to grant you its power, possessing you and granting you ghastly power for the rest of the area. Once a chart is in hand, you'll board the good ship, the Sovereign, Valerie or Val's reappropriated Oriathan naval vessel. Here, Val introduces you to the heart and
Nice.
soul of her ship, quite literally. Vesper, another Pondium native like Val, is bound to this ship. His soul burns with the Allflame's curse, and were his comatose body to be removed from the ship, he would surely die. The silvery apparatus that lines the bows and eaves of the vessel allow him to steer the Sovereign anywhere in Rayclast's waters. Using the chart you've brought, Vesper can navigate to a location so you can scout it for Val, and while doing so, claim whatever treasures there might be. How, though, will you avoid a watery grave once sunk below? Vesper controls a spark of the Allflame, a powerful and mysterious
I did
magic,
not hit her.
which has
It's
been
not
imbued
true.
into a number
It's
of
bullshit.
devices
I
aboard
did
the
not
ship.
hit her. I did
Chief
not.
among them,
Oh,
the
hi, Ma.
Bathysphere.
I did not.
This entirely safe and well-tested contraption of rivets, bolts, and metal will be your ticket beneath the waves to explore and plunder. While scouting the depths, in order to not need an ample supply of air, we're instead going to place Allflame lanterns. These are conduits of the power that keeps Vesper alive and bound to the ship, and give you the temporary safety you need to do that exploring. Without them, you will drown. The first of these is
Do you
strapped to the
die if you
bathysphere
drown?
and activates on landing, rushing the
For
water away
permadeath?
to reveal horrifying monstrosities, lost treasures, and a strange luminous coral growing
Or
from the
maybe you just
corrupted
wake up
dead
on
in
the
the
boat.
oceans of Rayclast. These strange growths are the real reason Val has asked you to plumb these waters, as the coral
Have you
can be
beat
broken
PO1
down into
hardcore
dead
ever?
man sulfur, the fuel that keeps
Define
Vesper's
beat.
light burning.
We made it to maps.
As you get to the
Being
perimeter of the safety
PoE
provided by an
blind
Allflame lantern,
hardcore.
Val will drop more down at your request.
What is beat? How do you
There's
beat it?
also an option available to have new lanterns fired automatically for you as soon as you need them, if you prefer speed over fine control. Explore and claim what
I
you can
finished the campaign.
while you can.
That's
Lost
beating.
fortunes of gold,
Right.
chests of valuables, and lurking threats all lie in wait for you beneath the waves. You might even find the odd lost missive, waylaid on its travel to its intended recipient. But hey, finders keepers, right? Beware though, as Vesper can only power so many lanterns at once, and that power is finite. On placing the last of your lanterns, they will begin
Is
one
there
by
a credit
one to
screen?
flicker and fade, and the creatures of the deep will rush in as they sense the vanishing of the light. You'll have to rush back to the safety of the bathysphere,
No.
escaping the cold clutches of creatures that despise the light you bring. You'll want to place every lantern though, as exploring to collect enough Dead Man Sulfur is the only way to successfully chart the area for the next step, planning a voyage. Val will keep a record of the areas you've charted, storing details in her journals. Once you've charted enough areas, just talk to Val, place your charts on Val's board, connect them together, and create one giant seafloor excursion. Each area you chart will reveal a special modifier that applies when it is used as part of a voyage, applied to either the charts adjacent to it or the whole voyage. Here are a few examples. This modifier causes all equipment dropped by monsters in adjacent charts to be converted to gold. This modifier will spawn friendly jellyfish alongside every pack of monsters in your voyage, which you will promptly slaughter for extra loot and experience, we're sure. This modifier causes all monsters in adjacent charts to be empowered by wildwood wisps.
What?
With 9 positions on your board for charts when constructing a voyage, these can stack up fast. There are also charts which can take you to specially rewarding areas of the ocean floor. Fields of anchors strewn with treasure chests full of loot, Kalguran shipments lost at sea, and sunken abyssal pits teeming with monsters, to name just a few. There are even some ancient artifacts you might find and resurface. Additionally,
Crabby
the
stabby
edges
skin.
of the voyage board track the currents of corruption flowing through the waters of Rayclast, with randomized effects being rolled with each new voyage to affect the charts placed adjacent to them. These add even further rewards to your voyages, and can shake up the way you choose to place your charts. Stack all of that together, and a well-planned voyage, with a bit of luck, can be a very profitable endeavor. But with so much loot to claim, how are you going to get it all to the surface? Val has a solution for just that problem. In each of the charts that comprise your voyage, there will be a capsule waiting for you, sent down by Val, which can store about an inventory worth of loot. Stuff these full, send Val a signal, and she will pull it back up to the surface, safe and sound.
Is her name
Since
Val?
voyages are built of 9 charts,
But the orbs
that's a lot of
also called
opportunities to
Val?
send back plenty
Val
of
orbs?
valuables.
That's
Once you're
confusing.
satisfied with the plunder from your well-planned voyage, find any of these capsule locations and call the bathysphere to it as your ticket out. Val will send it down to your rescue, as fast as she can. You just need to survive until it gets there. Good luck. Once you do, don't forget to empty all those capsules full of loot. Now, back to all that Dead Man Sulfur that you've been hard at work gathering. Is that just to keep the Sovereign afloat and Vesper alight? No, it's not. Once you've got a bunch of it, head below decks, and you'll find the heart of the ship at work. Whilst Vesper's body remains above deck, burning away in a contraption of tarnished pipes and corpse-stained glass, resides Vesper's soul, and you'll find him to be a pretty crafty fellow, if a bit melancholy. That's where this league's item crafting system comes into play. Give Vesper an item, alongside a currency that you could normally use on that item, and an ample supply of Dead Man Sulfur. That item is then split into a multitude of ghostly forms, each of which will be the result of having applied that currency to the original item. You can then pick which of the ghostly outcomes you like best to keep for yourself. The others will go up in smoke, as Vesper can only reify a single outcome. This can be done with almost any crafting step you'd like. Want to see a few outcomes for that influenced exalted orb? Perhaps you've got a particularly expensive fossil combination you want to get maximum value out of. Do be wary though, as the more potent the craft, the more sulfur Vesper will require to see it done. That's
Seems
not all,
useful.
however, as the seafloor hides some yet undiscovered potential in the form of rare and valuable ducats. These can be consumed by Vesper to warp and twist items in ways not seen in centuries, such as Kishara's Ducat, which creates 4 ghostly copies of an item, each of which will keep 1 mod from the original, perfect for creating powerful crafting bases.
Why is his helm so shiny?
The Gentile's Ducat,
Well,
which
why
can
is all
solve
his
item
items
or
so
gem
shiny?
requirement problems by changing one attribute to another. And Brine Hook's Ducat, with which you can become an emissary of the gods of Rayclast.
Oh, you can't
Who
see.
knows what these aspects might do? These Ducats come from special types of charts, so keep an eye out for them on your travels throughout
They are
Rayclast.
fractured, means they have
You
a
may even
mod on
find
it
some
that
that
can't
lead
be
you to
removed.
notably unwelcoming waters. So that covers the new league, and for the first time in Path of Exile, we're finally going under the sea. Some might even say this is the first real boat league. But that's not all. Not even close. Next up, we've got an old favourite making a return. The mercenaries of Trathus are once again roaming Rayclast, looking for hapless fools to duel. Mercenaries will start appearing from Act 3 in San. Before beginning a duel,
Wait.
you'll be offered an overview of the mercenary
This is
you've
the one they
encountered.
had like 3
Here,
patches
you
ago?
can see the gear they have
Or
equipped and the skills they
3
employ.
seasons ago?
As per the Trathan code, you have the right to wager for an item the mercenary is carrying. You'll stake some of your gold, and the duel commences.
Awful mechanic? Why? It was scary when it was hardcore mode, but you just gotta know if you can
If you
attack.
lose,
Yeah.
you forfeit the levied gold, and the mercenary will teleport out, repulsed at such a poor display. Win, however,
I thought it was
and to
good.
the victor will go the spoils. In addition, if you win the duel, the mercenary will aid you as an ally for a number of areas. Trathan mercenaries are powerful allies to have in Rayclast, assisting in a number of ways. Some mercenaries can
almost
provide
die,
you
though,
with powerful auras and buffs,
against it.
while other mercenaries can do all the killing for you. While in map areas, if you don't like anything the mercenary offers, you have the ability to request their warrant. A warrant is a promise to return and duel again at a later date. A call to action that calls that specific mercenary to a future map, with the same set of skills, but a new set of items. A mercenary will only grant their warrant once, however, preventing you from fighting that mercenary in every single area. Warrants also allow you to trade specific mercenaries to other players. It is important to note that unlike in Mercenaries of Trathus League, having a mercenary does not count as a player party member. So having a mercenary does not increase monster life or the quantity and rarity of items dropped from monsters. Given that, you may be wondering, but what if I really like a mercenary I found? They have a great personality and powerful skills. Is there really no way I can keep them as an ally permanently? Well, you can, but only if you are a Scion. For the second time in 6 months, the Scion is getting a new Ascendancy class, the Luminary. The Luminary is a natural leader, lighting the way for others to follow. Becoming a Luminary immediately lets them allocate the Noble Blood passive, allowing them to permanently hire any mercenary they find in Rayclast. Luminaries can have up to 3 permanently hired mercenaries, 2 in reserve in towns and hideouts, and 1 as an active ally in combat.
Is that really that good though?
Unlike with regular mercenaries,
I feel like you're missing
you can
out on
change
something.
the items permanently
And
hired
you can just be
mercenaries
like
have
cycling
equipped, opening up
mercenaries.
innumerate potential build possibilities. By default,
Like you, what are you
permanently hired
missing out
mercenaries
on
cannot be
in
equipped
other
with unique items,
ascendancies?
but these passives enable them to equip specific types of uniques. While the legendary arms passive empowers mercenaries that have many different unique items equipped.
3 auras.
Luminaries have the flexibility of becoming a support character to their mercenary, or having their mercenary support them. The Oath of Fealty and Golden Glory passives empower your mercenary by using your link skills on them. The Loyal Bodyguard and bestowed knighthood passives enable your mercenary to protect you in combat.
Is that
as well as
fucking
enhancing the
IO?
aura skills.
Dota 2 IO mechanic or
As
what?
with any old league that we add to the core game, we have added full Atlas tree and Scarab support. Here are just a few examples. These passives allow you to much more easily target the specific types of mercenaries you want showing up in your maps. The Loot and Pillage passive gives mercenaries a chance to drop all their items when defeated, instead of just the one you selected. The Trathan Scarab of Renown makes it so the spawned mercenary is covered head to tail in unique items. And the Trathan Scarab of Infamy forces a more powerful, infamous mercenary to spawn, accompanied by 2 other mercenaries for a truly unfair duel. Unfair for them. There's even a few entirely new mercenary types, one of which is found exclusively on the seafloor in rare Curse of the Allflame encounters. Sellswords of Trathus won't be the whole of your problems in 329, however, as the denizens of the Lightless are getting some much needed updates with the modernization and rework of Abyss. When we brought Abyss over to Path of Exile 2 and Rise of the Abyssal, some functional changes to the mechanic were made to improve the gameplay significantly. In Curse of the Allflame, the majority of those changes will be making their way back to Path of Exile 1. The existing Abyss content had some notable problems. Aside from being very dated, it also required the player to follow a crack as it opens, often backtracking throughout already cleared areas. Now, as you approach an abyssal pit, and the cracks leading up to it, you will find that it is already open and spilling forth abyssal energy into the surrounding area, subjugating the souls of enemies unlucky enough to be within its influence.
It looks very
Slaying
like similar.
these enemies will send those souls spiraling down into the pit, drawing the attention and ire of the minions of Kulamak that dwell beneath. Slay enough of them, and the Abyssal Legion will spill forth from their domain to tear you apart.
Or maybe it was on PoE 1 first.
The upshot of this rework is twofold. Firstly, there is now much more visceral feedback in the moment-to-moment gameplay of Abyss, with audio and visual cues drawing the player along.
As from 1 updated in 2 and updated again now in 1.
You'll never need to chase a meandering abyssal crack around a map ever again. No more backtracking. However, be on your guard. The abyssal minions of Kulamak have some different tricks up their sleeves in PoE 1, and many employ entirely
what is that
different skills
symbol
to
on
those
his
of their
health
PoE
bar?
2 counterparts.
The like it's not claws,
To
it
be
was
clear,
like
there are
seaweed
still
or
some
something.
aspects of the existing abyssal system that we will be keeping. Abyssal jewels and items with abyssal sockets will remain.
Petrified blood.
In fact, we have given Abyss a similar treatment to what we did with Dell fossils in our last release, moving abyssal rewards out of other areas of the game to make Abyss the exclusive source of abyssal jewels and Stygian vices. This will also come with a complete refresh of abyssal scarabs and Atlas passive tree investment, with some truly dangerous and wild new ways to take on the lightless hordes. Lastly for Abyss, but definitely not least, Abyss is bringing an entirely new endgame pinnacle boss, with its own set of brand new unique items. This boss has a very unique way of accessing it. What does this eyeball do? Good luck figuring this one out. Let's move on to our next league being reworked, Legion. Every league should have distinct and interesting rewards that are exclusively available from that mechanic. This allows players to specialize in certain corners of the game, rewarding those who engage with a given mechanic. Legion is next on our list to receive this treatment. Despite having a unique combat mechanic, we felt Legion didn't have interesting exclusive rewards outside of timeless jewels. While incubators were technically exclusive to Legion, they effectively granted the same rewards that you could get elsewhere. So, what are we doing about it? Firstly, incubators are being removed. No longer will you have to remember to apply incubators to all your equipment every few maps. Instead, we will be adding a new type of reward exclusive to Legion, vestigial unique items. Legion generals and maps will have a chance to drop a new type of currency item, enshrouding crystals. These can be used on your unique armors. You can then take the enshrouded item to the Domain of Timeless Conflict, which might look a little bit different to what you remember. A giant crystal emerges from the center of the domain, and there appears to be some sort of entity trapped inside, potentially the reason that these armies are engaged in eternal conflict. At the base of the crystal are a number of smaller crystals. Clicking on one allows us to place our enshrouded item inside. As we then kill monsters in the Domain of Timeless Conflict, our gloves within the crystal begin to transform. And once you have killed enough, the crystal becomes volatile and looks ready to fracture. I wonder what will come out. Our Shaper's Touch transformed into a Malagero's Virtuosity. But now, the Malagero's Virtuosity has a trace of the original enshrouded item bestowed upon it, in the form of a vestigial implicit modifier. As you can see, enshrouding crystals allow you to transfer powerful modifiers from one unique item onto another. Here are some more examples of vestigial unique items. Helmets, boots, gloves, shields, and body armors. In addition to vestigial items, we are also making a number of small improvements to Legion. You no longer need to kill every last monster to begin the Legion encounter. Breaking out all the key monsters, chests, and the majority of monsters will be enough to start the combat automatically. No more cheeky single monster hiding in the corner, preventing your encounter from starting. Legion monsters drop fewer splinters, but in larger stack sizes, resulting in fewer clicks in each encounter.
They should do that for some of the side quests
Unrelenting
too.
timeless emblems have been removed.
Like clear
with
this
regular timeless emblems absorbing
side
many
area
of their effects,
or whatever, right?
causing the
And
Domain
there's
of
like
Timeless
1
Conflict
million
to become
remaining
harder,
somewhere.
but more rewarding as you kill monsters. Your reward progress in the domain is now tracked by charging up these small purple crystals, rather than flooding your screen with hundreds of reward icons. The rewards are still the same, just not obscuring your screen with symbols. Talismans were introduced back in 2015, but over the years,
Wait,
they've
is it
been
literally
long
one
neglected
quest?
and lack a meaningful place or
I'm talking
purpose.
about the
We are
side
making a
area
number of
of
changes to
the
bring talismans back to
with the
relevance.
chargers.
Firstly, talismans are
Is that
now
the area?
exclusive rewards from Bestiary. Every red beast
Okay.
has a chance to drop a talisman specific to that beast. For example, the Krashik Croaker can drop the Croaker Talisman. What makes these talismans special? Well, you'll notice a couple of changes compared to old talismans. Firstly, talismans no longer drop corrupted, making them far easier to craft once you find one. Secondly, the special modifiers on talismans are now enchantments, rather than implicits. This means they compete with blight anointments, allowing their effects to be significantly more powerful than before. Here are a few more examples of new talismans. Talisman unique items have all been improved, and now have a chance to drop from all bestiary bosses. Check out the new Eyes of the Great Wolf talisman, which has some crazy possibilities. So that is everything covering the new and reworked League mechanics in 3.29.
That's crazy.
Now, that's already quite a lot of in-game content, with mercenaries returning, an upgraded Abyss, Legion's new reward mechanic, and of course, everything the Curse of the Allflame League has to offer. But even with all of that, we're not done. Because what about the Atlas itself? Given Zana's actions to try and destroy it in the last two expansions. Zana's actions are causing the Atlas to become ever more destabilized. Strange locations have begun to manifest on the Atlas, many of which seem to be bleeding over from familiar places in Rayclast. Kerak has labeled these as anomalies. When you complete maps affected by a Voidstone, there is a chance that when you next open your Atlas, an anomaly may manifest. Like this
Bruh.
one, the Mana Foyer.
That
Like
actually
regular
dope.
maps on the Atlas, you can select them at your map device, but unlike regular maps, these don't require an item to enter. It looks like this area is the abode of Cadero Perandus. Cadero is willing to offer valuable items in exchange for our gold. If you don't like what is on offer, you can reject it, and he will immediately offer another item. The next offer will cost more gold, but hopefully is much more valuable to you. If you don't have enough gold for the offered item, don't worry. Kadero is happy to wait for you to replenish your coffers. You can return to the area at any time. The anomaly will not disappear from the Atlas until you either purchase an item or reject all his offers. Anomalies are unique in this regard. Unlike other locations on the Atlas, these areas can often be revisited. Let's quickly run through a few of the anomalies that can manifest. Reflecting Mists and the Nameless Seer no longer randomly spawn within maps, but instead now appear in their own anomaly areas. Scrying is no longer the domain of the Nameless Seer, but instead can be done through the new, tradable Scrying Orb. Some anomalies grant a taste of League mechanics you might not normally run, without having to be fully invested into them. For example, this anomaly creates a random, fully revealed heist blueprint wing, with random rogue companions. This anomaly has a version of the Sacred Grove, where the plants have fully taken over. This strongbox seems to have a strange mechanism. Atlas anomalies are unaffected by your Atlas skill tree, and you can't augment them using any fragments. Therefore, they can be run at any time without feeling like they have to be saved for later to maximize the potential rewards. There are many more Atlas anomalies to discover for yourselves, each of them tied to a specific Atlas quadrant. It is therefore worth discovering which ones can spawn in each part of the Atlas, as it may influence what Atlas strategy you wish to pursue. So that is a heap of new challenges to encounter, from the League and the in-game. But you may be asking, what new tools do we have to face these challenges?
I was asking that.
In 329, we are giving a bit of love to spellcasters, specifically those that cast spells themselves. But first, let's address the elephant in the room that astute players may have noticed. Yes, I'm talking about those socket colors. So, after the better part of 2 decades, in 329, we're making a fairly radical change. Sockets, at a basic level, don't have colors anymore. You can now put any colored gem into any socket. We're doing this to address a long-running issue for both new and experienced players. I'm sure almost everyone who has played before has run into the issue of finding a notable upgrade and have struggled to find a way to equip it. Maybe you find an amazing body armor, one that would give you a substantial boost to your defenses, but you just can't move your skill or support gems over because the colors of the sockets just don't match, and you didn't luck out with your chromatic orbs.
True.
It's not fun when you have to unequip a bunch of skills or supports just to use a better item.
True.
This can still happen with the socket numbers and socket links.
That's fine.
So it's not like it's just purely trivial.
That's
the
fine.
colors were just unnecessary. It not only prevented upgrading gear, it limited build experimentation.
Forsen patch?
So, given that,
It's not a Forsen patch. It's simply a good change.
Well,
it's a good change.
The colors on gems for sockets are still relevant, just as an upgrade system. You can still find items with colored sockets, and you can craft them onto items. They are just rarer and more powerful. Most importantly, they don't restrict what can be socketed into them. How are they more powerful? Well, if you were to find an item with, say, a green socket, you can put a green gem inside of it to get an additional quality bonus to that gem. This allows socket colors to be a purely positive outcome on an item, while not just simplifying the system.
Yeah. Okay.
You can also still change the color of sockets on your items using a chromatic.
If you want to min-max, you still want to have the colors, though. But this is for leveling. This is way better because then it doesn't matter
for
that
everyone
much.
to upgrade items and maintain their build, especially while progressing.
For leveling, this is
gems,
huge. But
we
for
wanted to make sure we
people who
improve
want
some
to
of those,
min-max max level, you
specifically
need the
for
right sockets anyway.
spellcasters. Let's get into that. Spellcasters have a large number of different skills to choose from, but often many skills play and scale in similar ways. We have done a pass through existing spells, differentiating spell damage types from each other. For example, Shadow's physical spells, like Ethereal Knives and Bladefall, now have a much higher critical strike chance than other spells at the expense of damage. Pure Lightning spells now all have generally higher cast speeds, but they cost more mana per second than other spells. we noticed that some of the Ascendancy classes for Shadow, Witch, and Templar were lacking options for general spellcasting, so we've added a new notable to the Assassin, the Occultist, and the Inquisitor. We are also introducing a new skill, Mana Infused Staff, that infuses your staff with arcane energy, raising your block chance and reducing the mana cost of your spells. In addition, when you are hit by an enemy, you retaliate with a wave of arcane lightning, dealing damage based on your maximum mana. One of the struggles we noticed with certain self-cast archetypes was that they lacked a scaling option in the endgame. In 3.29, we're adding a special new set of exceptional skill gems called Pacts. Each pact is themed around a specific Beyond demon and Lycia. You can make a bargain with these demons to empower your spells, but at what cost, you may ask? Well, these spells don't have a typical cost, but instead cause the player to gain a special affliction debuff. Don't worry too much though, the rewards will be worth it. For example, Pact of Baydat causes many of your different spells to just cause a ruckus, while Pact of Gore is for dot builds. Using this pact will plague your enemies. Just cast it and watch everything around you melt. I wonder what Pact of Lycia and Pact of Katash do. We won't go into the specifics of all the balance changes we are making here, but there are many more caster improvements, including buffs to specific spells and supports, buffs to caster unique items, as well as more and better ways to solve mana. Check out the patch notes later for all the details. Next up, we're going to be talking about the new supporter packs for Curse of the Allflame. Today, we're launching 2 new series of supporter packs, the Plague and Remedis packs. Each tier contains the pack's full face value in points, alongside several exclusive microtransactions. As always, the microtransactions in these packs are purely cosmetic and do not affect your character's power or progression in any way. The Plague series of supporter packs contains 7 exclusive microtransactions. Equipping the Plague weapon skin replaces the default appearance of your staff, sword, mace, or shield with a weapon that has been submerged in corrosive toxins. The Plague Rat Pet is the result of a nefarious experiment. When a unique enemy is nearby, it faints as a defensive mechanism to protect its fragile body so it can continue to spread disease. The metal of the Plague Bearer armor set has corroded, and the cloth has begun to disintegrate from being exposed to such toxic elements. It includes the Plague Bearer back attachment, which spreads disease across the ground in town areas, maximizing the chance of infection. A diseased swarm infects your weapon when using the Plague Bearer weapon effect. Use it alongside the Erupting Pustule's rare finisher effect to spread vile and devastating disease to monsters you kill. Activating the Plague Wraith map device causes the plagued energy to flow from the chained being. Given the goal of spreading such illness is to end the lives of as many as possible, the map device tracks kills in kind, showing you the number of enemies killed in each map, sorted by rarity. Feel free to even pin the count of enemies slain in a map to the leaderboard at your leisure. Pair it with the Putrefying Portal to fully immerse yourself in the Plague Propagator experience. Both the map device and the portal emit such a potent putrefaction that even the birds flying overhead cannot survive, as they plummet to the ground around it. The Remedis Pack series also contains 7 exclusive microtransactions. The Remedis weapon skin changes the appearance of your staff, wand, scepter, or shield, with relics once used by the Order of the Remedis Knights against the plague. The Medi Roa Pet is kitted out with all the supplies necessary for healing in remote locations. Strangely, these Roas seem to have a particular fondness for goblin meat. The Remedis Knight armor set is bestowed upon those tasked with traveling through Rayclast to purge the sick of their diseases. The matching back attachment cleanses the disease left behind on the ground in town
Looking quite
areas
decent,
by
to
the
be
Plague
honest.
Bearer back attachment.
Well,
it's an important job of a Remedis Knight to
it's
not
the
let
only
disease
way
take
of getting
over.
paid, right? So you
Help
have to
by
put a
doing
lot
your
of
part. The Remedis Knight weapon
effort
effect
into
funnels
these.
the divine power of purification into your weapon. Return to the Saints' End Monastery hideout to recuperate from your purifying duties. Once a thriving center for curing ailments, this monastery has slowly wasted away while lying unused. If you're feeling brave enough, there's even a platform to dive into the purifying waters below before washing back up at the base of the hideout.
Die.
Last, but not least, use the Reservoir of Benediction Affinity Stash to store all of your elixirs. This stash opens to your stash tab with the Flask Affinity set. Additionally, all microtransactions from the supporter packs are available for use in Path of Exile 2. We're looking forward to seeing which of you choose to become
what?
the Plague and spread disease across Rayclast,
You
or
get
those
for both
who wish
games?
to fight against it by becoming a Remedis Knight. Thank you so much for your ongoing support.
Thank you so much.
We're just about to start the Q&A
Wait,
with Ziggy D.
that's really good value.
Afterwards, we'll post the
Unironically.
full patch notes for Path of Exile, Curse of the Allflame, at 11 AM New Zealand time, 4 PM Pacific. With release at the end of next week, our community team will be posting crucial information you'll need for the release. Keep an eye on the news.
If you're into that stuff. It's Calvo, thank you man. Spy Penguin, welcome back. Clear the score. Sonic Lettuce and Lord Nefarian. Nam 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 nam. Welcome back. Hey, Fred on Risk, thank you for the 6 years, man. This is bad chest. Baddest of chests. The real Beansy, thank you. Weeps Lightning MP3, Unska, Belgium. Welcome back. PXT.
Sell up, send.
Better chest.
You engage, say true, but only play for a day, or to complain about the div's game, and everything die, cry, complain, die again, blame everyone instead of listening. Then you quit Path of
Welcome to
Exile,
playing
never
hardcore,
finishing the hardcore run.
I literally finished the hardcore run. I literally finished the campaign hardcore blind. That's more than you will ever do, alright? You have never finished the campaign blind, and you can never go back to do it because you already spoiled yourself, right? By playing softcore, pussycore, right? So you will never be as good as me, because you can never get this achievement. It is forever lost upon you. I can get any achievement you can, but you cannot get this achievement. I leveled 94 hardcore, both PoE 1 and 2. Yes, but you have not done it blind. Okay. You have not done it blind, that's what I'm saying. And you can never go back to doing it blind because you played Pussycore first. Yeah. Yeah. It's the price you pay for low testosterone, chat. Softcore trade. Logout macro. Wiki up.
G'day Exiles, and welcome back for another
G'day.
Q&A for 3.29. We are joined here by, it's a little bit cozier here than usual. We have Game Director Mark Roberts, along with lead game designers on Path of Exile 1, Octavian and Andrew. And Andrew, welcome. This is your first time joining us on the Q&A. It's good to have you here. You have been on some other podcasts and things in the past before, but it's exciting to have you all here for the podcast. I kind of want to give people a bit of a lay of the land of like what it is that each of you, like Octavian and Andrew, work on for Path of Exile, so people can kind of understand where your expertise lies, maybe.
Yeah, so for Path of Exile 1, I've been working on it for like primarily for quite a few years now. And typically I'll dip my hands into everything and related to the expansion. However, in the last few expansions, Chris has been handling the majority of the League stuff, and I typically handle most of the other bits and bobs. So yeah, for example, in this one, things like Mercenary and Legion and the balance, I would have had a hand in.
Yeah, and you certainly did a lot on the balance side of things. It looks like you did 150
Well,
skills or something.
When the patch notes come out, you'll see the changes there. So
It's a lot.
that's a later nuke. So
And what about for you, Octavian? What do you kind of focus on for people who are not familiar?
So the last few leagues, Mercenaries, Mirage, and now Curse of the Allflame, I've been, sort of leading the design on the league mechanic itself. And then basically wherever else I'm needed. So this time around, I did the new Abyss Pinnacle boss. So you can blame me if he kills you. I did a bunch of new uniques. Some transfigured skills that'll be in the patch because that's a pet project of mine. I really like transfigured skills, and probably some other stuff I'm forgetting. But yeah, I mean, mostly the league this time. It's a chunky one.
Yeah. I mean, that was where I was originally planning on starting, was like talking about Curse of the Allflame, where we collect chat's questions and then dive into some of the other things: Mirage, Abyss, Legion, balance crafting. There's a lot of things to talk about today, but obviously the biggest news is the socket color change. It's the one everyone kind of seems to want to know about from what I've seen. It
is definitely the best change.
It's a weird one because it's such a long-standing tradition, and there is like, I felt like the initial I feel like I should be mad or something, but I was like, but I'm not. I'm curious, like, how did this one come about after being unchanged for so long?
We actually discussed this change on Mirage launch day. So
okay,
often on just to give some history to it. So on launch day, when there isn't a burning fire,
nice.
We're all sitting there designing, like, okay, what are we doing next? What are we starting on Monday? Like, I know people think we have a long plan ahead. We don't. Launch day is when we design the next set of content. And a thing that we decided is we worry the message now is that PoE 2 is for the new audience and PoE 1's for the existing audience only. And it is obviously for the existing audience, obviously. But we also want to make sure we're bringing in new players. And we want to make sure that that audience is growing. Because if you aren't growing the audience, it's only got one way to go, right?
Right.
That's down. Now, hopefully, you can... It'd be naive to assume it can just sustain the exact same numbers forever with the exact same players, right? People do eventually move on.
Yeah.
Whatever. So we want the audience to grow. And so when we actually go and look, well, when we were discussing this in Mirage, we're like, let's actually think, why are people, getting into the game and then stopping playing? Like, what are the points of friction and where we're losing the audience? And sockets is a huge one. Now, we had already discussed this for PoE 2 because PoE 2 removed skill gems off gear, right?
Yeah.
So we kind of already were a bit educated in this, and we're like, but the line we drew, like, some people were like, why not remove them entirely off the gear, like you did with PoE 2? But there are, I would say, I feel this way, and
they might
people feel this way when first playing PoE 1.
This is just one step.
Long time ago.
A decade and a half ago.
There were two things about the game that really caught me and my group of friends and propagated along, and maybe you guys feel the same way, I'm not sure, which was, I opened the passive tree and fell in love, and I also was like, holy, skills are in your gear and the links are in your gear. That's awesome. That's so, the innovation behind that is so cool. So not wanting to lose the skills and sockets in gear in PoE 1, I think is, it's a personal line, sure, but I think a lot of people share it, of not wanting to lose that entirely, but also it doesn't need to be having so many layers of friction. And so obviously you got the numbers, you got the links, and then you got the colors. And often what we're finding is that, sure, seasoned players, veterans, they work around it, sure. But, or honestly, they don't even necessarily, I talk about the gear upgrades, sometimes you don't even need the gear upgrades, you can just, once you know what you're doing, you know what you're doing. But yeah, we're finding a lot of players early game who are struggling, who are trying to get those gear upgrades, just can't, and often it's because of the colors.
Yeah.
And so we're like, well, we want to remove that friction, but also we don't want to just simplify it down to nothing, because we still want in-game players to have an access of itemization that's important. And so we're like, we still want the colors to come in. We still want it to be important for upgrading your gear. We want it to be a chase end-game thing players can do. And we honestly think that this hits both of those, and it now allows a lot of people to get into the game easier, make upgrades of their gear without going. I
Yeah,
don't know what to
links.
do. Like my gear's been the same
If you
since
remove
level
links,
3
you break
because I
the
can't
fucking
replace
game
this or
because
one piece of gear or another piece of gear.
that's just
And,
how you're
because they
supposed
don't want
to
to
do
break their
support
links or their
things.
skills or their support. So
But
yeah, honestly,
colors,
that's where it came
yeah.
about. And but the broader
Colors
discussion
don't
is
work.
like,
Or
we need to
don't
get
need
people
to
in the
be
door.
colors.
We need to get people to stop quitting. And we need to have like when they get overwhelmed and they're like, I don't know what to do. It feels complicated, and this was part of that. So, you know, I wouldn't expect this to be the last change along that axis of us going. Let's remove these barriers of entry. You know, in the future we want to make more. But yeah, honestly, I think, you know, generally speaking, almost everyone internally has been pretty positive, but everyone has that. Whoa, you're changing this sacred thing. And even we had it. When we were in the room, we're like, oh, are we doing this?
Are we allowed to do this?
We're like, what? Do we need to, you know, like, hold on, do we need to like call a council of the founders here? Like, do we, what are we supposed to do here? Like,
Well, I
can
kind
we
of
make
heard
this
that
change?
basically did happen.
Yeah.
Like, you guys called around to some of the other
Well,
people.
yes,
were
we
like,
did, yes. So it was, even we were like, are we allowed? But then also I think it is really important that we can reassess these fundamentals and actually go and say, nah, this needs to change. Now, hopefully it's amazing, and hopefully everyone finds it to have less friction and late game get better itemization and all of that. But you know, these things,
I
if they don't
finally
quite
cracked
land,
the
we're always
code.
just going to make another
Forsen,
iteration
you were
and change it.
sponsored
That's what we
by
do.
League of Legends, which
I've done
is a
playthrough of the
Chinese
campaign
company
before
and
here,
Path of
and
Exile, which
I-
is owned
with
by
this in particular,
Tencent, or a
because I had
fake
that feeling
suite,
like,
which
it's
made
so
Spotify
sacred
then
and so
sold it
ancient.
to
I
China.
feel like
You
I've
were a
been- I was
Chinese agent.
coming
I
at it
knew
from
it
an angle of
Forsen.
being hypercritical, looking for
China
any
one.
potential issues with it.
GG.
But it felt like it was just so much easier to change gear and swap my gear around. Like, ultimately, that's the thing. You talk about this for a lot for new players, but I see this as like a huge win for long-term players, because playing a game for over a decade, you start to notice these kind of points of exhaustion is kind of what I think of them as, where
True.
you're like, oh, this just grinds me down a little bit each league.
That is something I did. It was intended for a newer audience, but 100% all the
Yeah.
feedback from Alpha, from internal, you know, our designers and QA generally has been like, hell yeah.
It just makes
So-
the campaign smoother. I'm using a greater variety of gear. I'm upgrading my gear more often. It feels good. And the quality one surprised me a bit, because that is actually like pretty. You don't usually interact with quality at all in the campaign. You're not going to get any GCPs until end game, right? But that I was actually kind of looking at the quality on my gems, and you know, I was like, oh, this really benefits from that. I'm getting an extra spark on my spark while I'm leveling, and you know, that felt like actually a pretty fun thing to engage with, and getting one socket color here and there felt like a meaningful thing. So
It worked out really nicely as an axis for still rewarding getting, you know, some of the correct colors.
Yeah.
Because quality innately is much more powerful on your active skill than it is your support gem.
Yeah.
So it's kind of okay if you only have a
What
few
if
of the colors, because you put your
instead
strongest skill in the you know, you put
another
your
way to
strongest
solve
gem
the
in your lanes,
issue
which is
would
your
be
active skill,
that
into the color that it matches.
you drop
And then
gears,
it's nice
and
to get the
gears
colors
don't
correct,
have
but, you know, getting
sockets
the
at
colors
all.
correct is like 5%
They don't have
increase in
sockets
for
at all.
getting the one
They
color
only
you
have
need
the
correct, which is
gear, like
quite
let's
easy
say an
to do.
armor or a
It's,
helmet.
you know, potentially an extra
And
projectile or
then
10%
you
more
can
damage or something
find
like that.
yeah, every time a chrome dropped, I
individually
was like, I was like, a
the
good base to drop that on so
socket
that I could, you know,
skeleton,
spark
right?
or
So you have your
something
gear
It
and your
has the
character
added
here,
bonus of there's another
and then
currency
you
that's like,
find,
you
oh,
know,
I
it's
found
not
a
like a divine
four
word
socketed
level
skeleton,
when you drop
like
it,
socket
but it's
skeleton,
nice to
and then
see,
you
know,
put
you're
that
excited to see a
on.
chromatic now and then.
And when
It was
you
kind of
drop
weird
a
that,
new
like, chromatic went
armor,
from being,
then
like,
you can
less
take off your
valuable
old
than, you know,
skeleton,
jewelers and
take
fusings
the
to
new
being
armor, and
almost
put
fairly
that
worthless now.
on with all your
Just
skill
to
gems,
clarify,
right?
chromatics are
That
much rarer
way,
now than they were
it's
before.
not
I won't say
chore
exactly how rare they are,
to,
but
you
we've
know,
made changes
change
to,
when
like,
you
for
get a new
example, if you
upgrade, a
vend
new
a
gear,
six-socket
right?
item
So you
that has
take
chromatic
the
colours, you
skeleton,
won't get
socket
jewelry rolls, you'll
skeleton,
get a
and you
chromatic
put
colour.
that, here's a
I
helmet,
was
socket
wondering if
skeleton,
there was
you
some
can put
sort
on
of
your
recipe. I
helmet,
thought you guys
so you
might
can
keep it
try and
secret or
get
something.
the
It's
socket
just the
skeletons
chromatic
you
recipe,
need,
that's
right?
the works.
That would be
It
the
has higher
perfect
priority than
solution.
the jewelers
Our list,
one.
our list of recipes, if it meets two conditions,
You're welcome.
there's always
I see.
it has an order of precedence. So we moved the chromatic above the
Because
jewelers.
it's more valuable
Yes,
now. I see, that makes sense. Did you guys have to mess with quality at all now that there's going to be kind of 30% is just going to be somewhat wildly available now?
That completely
Like,
solves the
does it break
issue, and then you can keep the
No,
color
it's,
system, because the color
basically
system
the power
works
creeping,
that way.
but
Yeah.
I
Because you
think
go
the
hunt
only-
for the
we had to make a
skeletons
a
and
number
not
of
the
changes
base
to our
armor. And the
existing
skeleton
uniques that
you can keep
interact
with
the socket
you
colours.
as
But I think the only
for
one
as
that
long
really
as you
got
want, you know,
nerf was
throughout the
the
game.
Alice Malefaction. Instead
Until
of
you
running
change your build
30%
and you need
quality
another
to green
color or
socket
whatever.
gems, it's now 20%.
Okay.
But
They
if you
should
put a
hire
green
me.
socket gem in,
Well, they
it's
technically did.
30%,
You're
which is
welcome.
what I had before.
There you go. Free advice.
And that's my follow-up question is, there's uniques that interact with socket colors. Have these sorts of things been updated? In particular, I was like wondering, like, do you guys do anything with tabula rasa or just kind of leave it, I imagine? I don't know.
It didn't need to change.
Yeah, I mean, that one
It's
kind of just
six-link,
works, doesn't
six-link,
it?
still a six-link, yeah.
Still 6-link.
Yeah, what Skin of the Loyal and Lords, they just generate with 6 coloured sockets.
Yep.
6.
So you still want to get the right colours, but
Yeah, but it's much easier to actually use them now.
what else did you
Bro, I love how
Pariah?
Yeah, so we
Six.
audited all of them. Some of them we were like, this is not a good unique, we should buff it. So Pariah, for example, is one that is now much stronger than it used to be. Yeah, there's subtle
6,
changes, but
7.
in general, like the design of the uniques didn't really need to change at all, like Triad Grip and the Untouched Soul, those type of things.
I just realized this makes like a favorite thing for me is like early league buying like a corrupted 6-link and finding the right colors for that was sometimes tricky, but now like you can use any, right? Because you can put a blue gem in a green socket, you just don't get the bonus.
Yeah, Skin of the Loyals early league is going to be far more accessible now.
Yeah, cool. Interesting. So that inadvertently kind of makes 6-links much more available early league, it seems. It's like something maybe you wouldn't even really think about with this, but there you go.
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
Yeah, all right, cool. Bulbs did a thing with sockets, so I imagine that changed, right?
Well, to clarify, when you do get a socket color, so for example, if you're using like a strength base type, you still have, when a socket generates, it's still got a much higher chance to be a red socket compared to a blue or green socket. So it still rolls socket colors based on the attribute requirements. Now, a Valor does what it used to do before, where when it's generating socket colors, it can still re-roll socket colors.
Yeah.
I think instead of granting white sockets, now it does the inverse and it grants a colored socket. But that colored socket will just be a random red, green or blue. It won't care about the attribute requirements of the item.
So a way to get off colors or something, maybe. Interesting. I imagine the crafting bench probably changed. But then again, with chromes being more expensive, maybe it didn't need to.
So a chromatic orb guarantees a colored socket, but we also have crafting bench options which guarantee 2 colored sockets and guarantee 3 colored sockets, but for varying amounts of chromatic orbs. I can't remember the exact
And
numbers.
now that they're going to be much more valuable as well, that makes sense. It almost kind of solves itself there. Well, super interesting. I look forward to seeing how people feel about that after they've had a chance to play around with it. But, my impressions of that have been pretty positive so far. If anything, like, I guess if there's any negative I could probably nitpick about it, it seems that maybe like it removes some of the identity from those items, mostly more in the campaign where you're not seeing their colors come up all that often. So like armor, energy shield thing is not necessarily as distinct from an invasion thing, since you can change them around a lot more. Was that something you guys were worried about at all with this?
Not really.
You think
A little bit. I understand that it is, especially from the visuals.
Yeah.
But like the item holds itself, you know, and with respect to its defense type, its mods. But yeah, I mean, I get that. Almost everyone, I was just thinking about it now, or I play with sockets always shown. I don't think I've seen anyone in a long time not play with sockets always shown. So I was just thinking that, like, generally when you're looking at an item, in fact, you're not really seeing its item art. You're just seeing some combination of colors. So yeah, generally you're going to be like, hey, this doesn't look like how it used to look. But I would honestly say that that doesn't need to be part of it. So it shouldn't need to be part of its identity.
Nice.
Even though I get that it will feel that way, for sure.
Well, I know this was the main change for this expansion, but on the side, in your spare time between working on socket colors, obviously you made this thing called Curse of the Allflame. This is a pretty unique and I think delightfully goofy mechanic. It's definitely a weird one. At first I thought, it's delve but moist, but then that seems to be oversimplifying it a little bit. Because it's also got a little bit of a blend of other ideas and definitely seems to very much be its own thing. I'm curious, how did this idea for this like Subnautica League come about?
You know what? Strangely, it actually didn't even start from the point of we should go to the ocean floor. What I wanted was a league where, you're exploring in similar sort of to the Wildwood, because I like that mechanic, but like a League mechanic where you're exploring and trying to uncover things as you go. And it was originally going to be, I believe, like bestiary adjacent, where it was going to be in like the spirit realm where all the bestiary bosses are, and you're like clearing spirit fog.
Bestiary?
But that was not a thing that we had nearly the assets to be able to pull off nearly as well as like an ocean themed league, because you can, you know, go look at half the monsters in the game that pre-existed, and they're on the coast, or they're near the shore, or they're on an island, and therefore, you know, it's crabs and horrible squid creatures and starfish and all that. And so it just made a lot more sense to go with an ocean-themed league. And from there, everything just kind of exploded into being.
Yeah, well said. Also inspiring, like,
Alright, boys.
the same mechanic
It's
can
past
often be applied to
bedtime
many different
here
themes
by a
in
lot,
different ways, and so a huge part of
I'm
the
not sure I'm
win
gonna
there
be
is
able to
talking
get
about
up 6 in the morning
ocean
anymore,
assets,
chat.
creatures. Well, we had just
Might
done
have
that
to
before,
sleep
right?
in. This old man
you know,
needs his
so
rest.
in PoE2, so all of a sudden we have islands and sea creatures and everything there, and it's like, okay, well, we like to reuse
that's
stuff
gonna be
and
it for
port it
today,
back
boys.
and
That was a
use
long
the-
stream,
so we get
8
to use all the
hours.
modern art. The other thing
8
is the
hours,
environment
8
artists
hours.
are familiar with those assets, so when they're trying to
but
put
good shit,
together
good
all
shit.
these things, they know exactly, and the
Gotta
level
pull
designers, they
over
know
the
exactly where
sometimes,
everything
you know.
is. Makes it
Shake
way
things
easier,
up.
and then you don't have to like look through.
Curse of
and
the
find
Allflame,
13-year-old
boys.
assets
Path
and
of
stuff, trying to
Exile.
go like, okay, how can I
Patch
reuse
coming out
this?
on the
And then,
24th,
it's nice to
alright?
have full
Check the banner
art
below
sets
if
of
you want to
modern
find
art.
out more, or
Because when you mix old
hashtag
things that aren't
exclamation
what we
mark
call
PoE
PBR
1.
and non-PBR.
Check out the
when you have
link in the
old
pinned
PoE
message,
1
whichever
assets
you
intermixed
prefer.
with the new
Alright,
modern
check it
assets,
out,
they
check
stick
it out,
like
check
a
it out.
absolute sore thumb.
And
So
that's
yeah,
gonna be it
going
for
in,
the Gold
obviously, it's-
Gamer
when
signing
you're picking
off.
a
Okay,
theme, it's
tomorrow.
often good to
I'll
look
see
what
you
art do
guys
we have, how
tomorrow.
can we use that or
Okay.
reuse that, because then you get to make a hell of a lot more
We'll see if they
content for
fix the sound
significantly
levels and
less
stuff
cost.
in
So,
Welcome to the Game, because it would be
that's
nice to actually
kind of
like
what helped
play the
inspire
game
it, because we're also
properly.
like, oh, it's like, and he doesn't necessarily
we'll
know
see.
what's
I'm
being
90%
made for
sure he's
PoE2,
gonna
and
fix
that's like where I'm
something.
kind of the bridge, and I'm like,
90% sure. But yeah, we'll see.
and he's like, well,
Thanks for
what
watching.
boss, what monsters?
Thanks for the
And I'm
subs,
like, oh, well,
resubs,
let me
donos,
give you that.
gifted
And I'm
subs,
just like,
bitcoins, social
massive
credits,
list. I'm
alright.
like, go to
I'll
this
see you
area, go
guys.
to this area, go to this area, go to any of these will work. No, but